Okay, thank you. Let's call this meeting to order. 5 p.m. meeting of Sacramento City Council. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaplan. Here. Councilmember Dickinson. Here. Vice Mayor Talamontes. Here. Councilmember Pluckybaum. Councilmember Maple is expected momentarily. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Here.
Councilmember Jennings.
Here.
Councilmember Vang. Here. And Mayor McCarty.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Councilmember Guerra, will you do us in the pledge and the land acknowledgement?
Please rise for the opening acknowledgments in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, the Valley and Plains Miwok, the Patwin-Wintun people, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contribution, and lives. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, City Attorney Ruyak, do we have any report out from closed session?
We have nothing to report, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. So, Mayor, we move to special presentations. I need to report that special presentation A, which was Sikh Awareness Month, will be postponed due to a scheduling conflict. So we'll move to special presentation B, and I'll turn it over to Vice Mayor Talamontes.
Thank you so much, Mindy. I am so excited today to give this resolution to Trustee Samiti Mehta from the Natomas Unified School District. Right now we live in kind of dark times, and when there's something exciting and historical that happens in our community, it's time to celebrate. So Trustee Samiti Mehta made history by becoming the first Indian American woman elected to trustee as the Natomas Unified School District. So everyone, round of applause to her. And if you can come up. So Samiti is first generation, born and raised in India and moved to Natomas 14 years ago. She's super active in the community, whether it's JIBE, working on the different school bonds, working, as a student, as a board member for NP3, the National Women Politicals Caucus, and she was a former Parks Commissioner. So today we had the Parks Commissioners presenting, and I just thought to myself, you got to start somewhere with your civic engagement and your involvement. And you're a perfect example of getting involved with local governance and seeing what your passion, your drive, and your love for the community can do. And so I'm just really excited for you and wanted to give you this special resolution on behalf of the Sacramento City Council to honor you and all your contributions to our community. So congratulations.
Thank you.
If you want to say a few words.
Yes, I will. So I had to take a printout because I can't read on my phone without my glasses. And because of my thick accent, it becomes very difficult to keep saying like this. So I'm deeply honored to stand before you all today as the first Indian American woman elected to this position. As an immigrant woman, this journey was far from easy, but it was made possible by unwavering support for so many incredible individuals. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Senator Angelique Ashby. Her mentorship and belief in me have been truly inspiring. To Vice Mayor Talamontes, your steadfast support over the years has meant more than words can express. A special thank you to Councilwoman Mai Wang, the first Hmong woman elected, and Councilwoman Katie Maple. I don't see her, but throughout this campaign trail, your kindness, encouragement carried me through some tough moments, especially those phone calls that meant a lot. As I've often said, stepping into a public arena is never easy. Throughout this campaign and even before, I faced judgments about my cultural values and was mocked for my thick Indian accent. But today, as I stand here in this room, I know that every challenge and every doubt I overcome was worth it. I would not have been here without my family, my husband Sudeep, who's my rock, my son Akshaj, who's studying in UCLA right now, and my son Atiksh, who walked miles alongside me, knocking on doors every day. My in-laws are here. My father-in-law is a proud retired Indian Navy officer. To my incredible support system, my dear friends Sati, Sherry, Jag, they're not here, my NWPC board, Michelle and Maria, who have lifted me up. I'm forever grateful. Special thank you to my exceptionally talented campaign team, Crystal and Dagny. Their behind the scenes of work was nothing short of amazing. There are so many people I might be missing because they're not here, but they're sitting: Melissa Meng, Micah Grant, Sharon Machini. There's so many people I would like to thank. This victory is just not mine. It belongs to all of us who believe in representation, equity, and power of perseverance. Together, we are all breaking barriers and paving the way for future generation. Thank you, Councilmember Talamantes.
All right, and if you want to come up with your family, and we'll take a group photo.
Sure.
Can we go next?
Yes, of course, yes. I didn't even see you guys.
I was going to try.
Okay, can we get in closer, please? Okay, a little bit closer. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Good to see you.
So may I move to the consent calendar? I do have one read to the record on agenda item number 18, paragraph A of the resolution. The phrase "invitation to bid" should read "request to proposals." So I ask that you adopt that as amended. Do any council members would like to pull any item, have questions, comments? Okay. Councilmember Pluckybaum?
I'll recuse from 19 for financial contribution.
Councilmember Pluckybaum is recusing from 19.
Or 18.
18.
18, thank you. Let's not do it again. So Councilmember Kaplan?
Just quick comments on items 8 through 12, just they're the all on call.
And Councilmember Dickinson?
I also recuse myself on item 18 out of an abundance of caution.
I have both Councilmember Dickinson and Pluckybaum recusing on item number 18. So back to you, Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Consent items 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all for our on-call professional services, be it from architects, engineering, construction management, real estate, environmental. I just want to highlight this as something, Madam City Manager, I know we don't have enough staff, but also how do we control costs in a budget deficit year? I want to make sure we've got controls in place for how we use our on-call services and how do we start minimizing that. Which means that I understand in a budget deficit year, if we're doing that, we're also minimizing what actually gets done. But I want to see if that's another way for potential budget saving area.
Looks like I have Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sorry, late to the punch here, but item number 13 when that's appropriate.
Please proceed.
Okay, item number 13. One, I just wanted to thank again staff for all their great work, Leslie Fritchie particularly, and now this contract is going to be going to Unseen Heroes for, as part of the, UC Davis Aggie Swear Community Benefits Agreement, and the outcomes of this for the first-time home buyer program. Again, this is part of the effort to put together, not only did we do the development of affordable housing down on Stockton Boulevard, but also the workforce piece, and now this piece, which will be the first-time home buyer program. And so I wanted to, again, thank everyone involved in putting this together, Wexford as well, UC Davis, and our city staff. Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes council comments. I do have 3 speakers for public comment. Sally Sapiro on item number 3, Mac Worthy on 10 and 13, and Tricia Malone on 19. Sally? So again, following Sally is Mac Worthy, then Tricia Malone.
Homelessness was your top priority before you were all elected, but will it be your top priority now that you are in office for 4 years? You weren't elected to build stadiums or hotels unless these can contribute significantly to your top priority. These are luxuries. Having housing that's affordable to everyone is a dire necessity. Healthcare equals housing. Housing equals healthcare. No one can be healthy without shelter from the elements and a private space to feel safe and relaxed. Our citizens were born in hospitals, but now they have less legal standing than farm animals and are left to try to survive in the open fields. Homelessness has been accepted by government as the status quo for over 30 years. This acts as a terrorist threat aimed at workers who are willing to do anything and for longer hours than is legal in order to avoid being homeless. This threat undermines everyone's mental health. We all have moral PTSD because of witnessing suffering without any recourse. Given the length and scope of this crisis, we feel it would be wise to put homelessness on the agenda every week. Then we who advocate would be spared the gory details of hiring a city manager to the tune of $400,000 a year. This one yearly salary could house 400 people in a tiny home for the rest of their lives. We need to know every week how many people have been housed and in what type of space. Given the 10,000 in need, the yearly quota would be 2,500 people housed.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Mac Worthy on items 10 and 13.
People, I've spoke to this consent thing on the monthly investments, but I've got other plans. The reason that I have come to this, because if I get those plans, some people going to have to be subpoenaed and called why. This is why you have an accounting problem here. Then when we look at 10, we want to know what is construction management. Now, any contractor will tell you to go to hell, you ain't gonna manage his contract, but that's free enterprise. Then we look at 13. We look at 13. Somebody lying here. Those 2 houses in front of me, we're gonna look at that, first-time home buyers. How did they get 2 black people get chosen right in front of me? Somebody lying here, waiting list. Now, did you tell them when you own a first-time home buyer, there's a moratorium before you can do anything with that house? Tell them the truth. Not to lie to them. And these things comes when we got people that your property here, you use by the rule of the thumb, you don't use an appraiser. See, but San Francisco, you got somebody from San Francisco to do the appraising if it's called for, but used by the rule of thumb. And people, you are being pimped to value your property. no property in America, the state of California going to gain 1% increase per year. That theory came from Jarvis Gann. 1% of face value would be your tax. So people wake up, because I got something happening with Bank of America I'm going to bring to their attention once I get a lawyer.
Thank you for your comments. Tricia Malone on item 19.
Hello. I just wanted to say thank you to Vice Mayor Talamantes for your support of our 95 single-family homes, 115 affordable housing units, and the sound wall we will be building at Fong Ranch Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no more speakers on the consent calendar. I do have council members Dickinson and Pluckybomb recusing on item 18.
Okay.
I'll move consent as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second as amended with those two abstentions, recusals. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes or abstentions previously noted? Items pass.
We move to the discussion calendar. Item 20 is an ordinance amending Sacramento City Code Chapter 5.108 related to entertainment establishments and the creation of a limited entertainment permit.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Tina Levote, Nighttime Economy Manager with the Office of Innovation and Economic Development. With me is Dustin Hollingsworth, Assistant Director with the Convention and Cultural Services Department. Today, we're asking the Council to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 5.108 of the Sacramento City Code relating to entertainment establishments to create the limited entertainment permit. To provide some background, Council adopted an ordinance to regulate the operation of entertainment establishments in 2003 to protect public health and safety due to problems with unruly events and activities. The entertainment permit program successfully addressed many of the problems, but there were unintended results. One was that the code does not differentiate between different business sizes and activities. A small cafe that wants to occasionally host live music faces the same application and operational requirements as a large nightclub. Recent studies reinforce the need to address this inequity. The Office of Nighttime Economy completed the Sociable City Assessment and in-depth analysis of our social economy, while CCS conducted the Sacramento Music Census and Regulatory Review and analysis of our local music industry. Although these studies had different purposes, both identified a need to create multiple levels of entertainment permits to support the city's current nighttime social and creative economic objectives. Last year, staff presented a report to Council that proposed amending the city code to create a new permit type that allows smaller businesses to provide entertainment at a lower cost and without the same application and operational requirements that nightclubs and larger establishments face. At that meeting, Council directed staff to come back with an amendment to create this new permit type. Following that directive, WON and CCS collaborated with key stakeholders to amend the city code and create the Limited Entertainment Permit, or LEP. The following are the key criteria for LEP. Total occupancy of 299 or less. Entertainment must serve as a secondary operation. Entertainment ends at 10 p.m. on weeknights and 11 p.m. on weekends, with entertainment hours extended for New Year's Eve. The amendments also renamed the current entertainment permit to General Entertainment Permit, clarify the name of Special Entertainment Permit to Temporary Entertainment Permit to avoid ongoing confusion with Special Events Permits, and it adds trivia as an exemption. They also revise and add fees to implement the new permit type. Please note that CCS will be returning to Council to approve the new fees if the changes are adopted. Although the LEP has fewer application requirements and operational restrictions, there are still measures in place to ensure public health and safety. General and limited entertainment permits both require the following. Applications are reviewed and approved by the city entertainment team, including police, code, and fire. Applications are routed to the appropriate council office and, if applicable, PBED for review and comment. Letters are mailed to property owners within 500 feet of the business to advise them that an application has been submitted and to allow them to provide comments. Although general applications are subject to full building and fire inspections and approval, limited applications must still receive fire approval. Both permits are issued under a set of operational conditions. Although limited permits will be less restrictive, there will still be conditions related to entertainment type, days and hours allowed, sound management, and crowd control. Both permits will also require that a manager be on site when entertainment is occurring. Both permits will be valid for 2 years and eligible for a no-cost 2-year extension if there are no significant violations. Since originally proposing the LEP last year, our offices have received ongoing inquiries asking when the new permit will be available. The CCS Entertainment Services Division will oversee the implementation and administration of the LEP. Our offices will work on an outreach strategy to educate people on the new permit type and the application process. And it's anticipated that applications will be available by June. We appreciate your support for this new permit type. Your approval of the code amendments will reflect the city's commitment to fostering a safe, dynamic, and well-managed social economy while supporting our local businesses and performers. So this concludes my presentation. Dustin Hollingsworth and I are available. So Dustin, if you have anything else that you'd want to add?
Nope. If you have any questions, Matt, we're good answer.
Okay. Thank you. We'll come back to you in a second. We have one public comment.
I have one speaker, Mac Worthy.
People, you have to laugh at this one because you're saying health and safety. Why are you using those in every damn thing you get ready to say, do? We lived in nightclubs. Now you want to say 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Why in the hell? You already got a timeline, 2 o'clock close down. So if I got a function in there, I got to cut it off at 10 or 11. I know what you're doing. You're fixing so they got to come to you in these entertainment centers you are building, like the basketball thing, like the community center. Poor people are not able to put up the money to set those things up. Poor people are not able to, their tickets to go through the system. I was involved in the first black boxing promoter here. We had 18,000 tickets sold, and somebody come with a bad eye, and they had to go back. But now you got that certain things had to go through a ticket seller here. What are you doing is going back to slavery with poor folks in this town. It's gonna blow in your face. Now I got a permit for entertainment. I got to come back in front of you in 2 years. What is the constitutionality of fairness? Wake up.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no more speakers on this item.
Thank you. Councilmember Dickinson?
There we go. Thanks, Mayor. I do have a couple questions. Oh, there you are. And I appreciate this work and supportive of the direction you want to go. There were a couple things, though, that I wanted to drill a little bit more deeply into. Beginning with if I understand currently, and this is not proposed to be changed, a venue that has 49 or fewer patrons is exempt.
That's correct. That would continue to be an exemption.
Right, okay. And then you're setting the max for this limited permit at $299. So it would apply between $50 and $299, right?
Correct.
And I'm just curious how those numbers were selected. Was there a rationale to them, or just they sounded good, or what?
Well, typically 49 is the number where fire designates it's an assembly. So if it's 50 or above, it's an assembly use. And then 299 is also a number that fire uses when additional fire requirements are needed. So usually if somebody wants to go above 300, there are extra requirements that fire puts in place for fire suppression. So we thought that those were pretty good numbers. And actually, also anecdotally, what we've tend to found, at least my experience in issuing permits, is usually when a venue goes above 300, their shift from secondary to primary entertainment kind of goes with that. So we thought 299 was a good number for the fire purpose, as well as make sure that people are doing it as a secondary use.
I see, okay. And were you able to, or did you try to do any kind of survey of venues to get get an idea of the alignment between what you just explained as a rationale and how venues are actually operating?
Not really a survey, but just I've been doing entertainment for about a dozen years, and so in my experience, usually when they're over 300, their primary focus tends to shift from more that they're doing entertainment as maybe something that's a secondary use to something that they kind of shift toward more of a tight club, or entertainment becomes a more primary purpose.
You're not proposing to change the requirements related to the exemption for PBID sponsored events. I'm curious whether you have run into any issues with respect to the administration or including code enforcement of events that PBIDs have sponsored.
At this time, we're not looking at doing exemptions, and I might let Dustin speak a little bit more to that because we are looking at doing a little bit of a deeper dive into the ordinance.
Exactly. So we were really tasked with trying to implement this limited entertainment permit for this run through. We're aware within the Entertainment Services Division that we're going to actually come back to the overall entertainment permit, this ordinance overall, and do a deeper dive into this. There's some other things within it that we believe need to be corrected as well.
I see. Okay, so it just wasn't in the scope of what you were looking at, but it's on the list to take a look at as you look at the more comprehensively at the ordinance. Is that?
That's correct. Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And then I always enjoy sections on fees that list no fees.
So in order to adhere to Prop 26, the fees are lagging a little bit because we wanted to make sure that the fees were appropriate and that there weren't any taxes or anything hidden in there that could be misconstrued as inappropriate for a fee.
Okay, so you need to go through a separate fee setting
And we're hoping to bring
exercise.
Sorry, yes.
And so what do you anticipate in terms of timing? Obviously, you can't really implement the changes you're proposing, assuming we adopt them, until you have some fees to associate them
Correct.
with.
So we're hoping to bring that back actually within the next month during the wait period after tonight, assuming it passes this evening.
So within the next 30 days?
That is the hope, yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Those were the questions I had. I do think this, as I mentioned at the outset, I do think this is a step in the right direction. We have a lot of smaller venues, and they may offer entertainment on a much more limited basis than can justify paying fees and going through the requirements associated with the general entertainment permit. So I think this can be a great boost to the kind of entertainment associated, especially with secondary purposes, as a secondary purpose to many of our restaurants, clubs, other wine bars, even smaller, just venues that have occasional events. It'll make it practical. That'll create more opportunities for entertainment and attractions in the community. Certainly, that's something that we are keenly interested in North Sacramento and District 2. So I applaud those who voted to start this process, and I thank you for the work you've done. I'll look for some more on the issues that you haven't had a chance to address, such as the PBIDs, as we go along. But I'm glad to see this here before us tonight. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Thank you, Mayor. First I wanted to thank staff for their work on this and reaching out to a lot of folks. I think, particularly when I've heard from some of my constituents and who own businesses down in the Stockton Boulevard area, South area, they see a particular opportunity where they could create a type of entertainment zone, but their primary business is restaurants. And that's kind of what keeps the lights on every day. But they do see a growing interest in trying to actually activate that area, activate the excitement, so I'd like to make sure that as we execute this program, I know a lot of it is some of the smaller shops in the coffee shops or little restaurants in the Midtown area that have historically had some type of concert activities, but I'd like to make sure we get outside of the central city and start looking at those commercial corridors, which I think could benefit from that. Now, on the flip side, there are parts of my district where we have had entertainment permits inside businesses that are next to residential. And I know at times there's been a little bit of conflict with the neighbors. So what is the reporting time that you want? Are you going to keep the council up to speed? It doesn't necessarily have to be here, but what's the feel of like, okay, this is how we're seeing the interplay between someone who has a coffee shop but wants to have, it's above, well, a coffee shop would be under 49 people, but it's a little bigger that might interface with residential communities, because I think that's the concern. I've had some neighbors who are close to small venues where they've had constant events, who've had to upgrade their windows and make sure that the sound wasn't too much. So can you maybe discuss what the feedback loop is going to be as we execute this?
Well, one of the things we always do is we always work really closely with the council office to make sure there's no concerns. Typically, most of our venues are in the central city, so we work very closely with the central command. But one of the things that Dustin and I did when we were initiating this process was to go out and work with all of the sector command captains as well, so they were aware of it, so we can get feedback from them. The beauty of our program is that we have operational conditions, and so what we really try to do is we try to work with folks to make sure that any business that their conditions address specifically those concerns. So we'd be able to do things. So for example, 10 is kind of the latest that a business could be open, but if they were next to residential or if they were next to a sensitive use where maybe we needed to have that be a little earlier, it may be that maybe for that particular business, they might end at 8. Or we might put some other things in place to make sure that we can address any kind of residential concerns. That also is really what's fortunate about the letters that we send. The letters are really useful in developing the conditions, because if we get a lot of feedback from residents who say that they're concerned about noise, then we make sure that those conditions address and put into place different kind of things that can address that. So for example, a lot of our businesses aren't allowed to have their doors open or their windows open to make sure they can contain their noise. And so we really try to have the conditions meet the business. So we always like to say they're like snowflakes, no two are alike. So we really try to make sure that we work with that fine balance of quality of life, but also kind of a thriving business.
Great, thanks. And I think there's an opportunity for a lot of our commercial corridors where we have spaces where they're a little larger to benefit from this opportunity. And so I'm excited about that aspect. And I hope that you guys will, I know historically you've been in the central city, but I know a lot of neighbors who don't want to drive or Uber down, and sometimes Uber can be like $30 to just get down, and so that having something more locally and helping those businesses that maybe only rely on the lunch traffic to stay open, to be able to have a secondary form of income, I think is positive. So I encourage that, and then I do want to work closely on the on those where they are closer to residents and whatnot. I mean, I know if during the weekdays 10 o'clock may seem early. I remember the days where I was getting ready at 10 o'clock, but usually I've got my kids in bed and homework's been packed up and ready to go, and I'm getting ready to go to bed at 10 o'clock. So if we get out on Tuesdays, so but to that point, I'd like to make sure that we're working on those, and it's that give and take, right? Maybe on a Thursday or Friday night might be appropriate, but for the later 10 o'clock hour. But I'd like to see how we play this out. And with that, Mayor, I'll go ahead and move the item.
Okay. Your motion is second. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo the questions and comments from my prior two colleagues and really say thank you. And I think as we always think about like vibrancy, a lot of the times it is, as Councilmember Guerra said, is you think about the core. When we went through the general plan update, one of the things I constantly heard is, okay, we don't have enough entertainment in North Natomas. There might be one place in town that plays music. Where else can we go to enjoy somebody playing a guitar or something? And how do we bring more arts that shows the vibrancy of our culture, especially in North Natomas? Because it is, when we talk about community and place, expanding the arts and expanding venues that are not just downtown in the major core is where I'm hoping to go. Because we got a couple places that do it, but I am mindful of, I appreciate the streamline, but also with small businesses and restaurants, you know, every penny counts. And how do we streamline this and not overburden it with fees? Because everything's getting more expensive. And with a restaurant, you know, should they have an inspection each time? Does the fire marshal need to come each time? Or is it a blanket one time? And how long does that last so that we are mindful, especially of the 50 to 200? They are small businesses. And so how do we make all of that work? So I'm curious in your thought process how that was discussed and brought up.
So fire does annual inspections of any assembly usage space. That naturally occurs and is just a good barometer to be able to keep track of these assembly use spaces, whether or not they have entertainment permits or not.
So if they get an entertainment permit, is it another inspection?
No, we'll be using the fire inspection. So for example, if a business had recently gone through an inspection with fire and they passed, we wouldn't have them go through another inspection again. So we have them go through fire just so fire can kind of give them the thumbs up. A permit is valid for 2 years unless a business is really bad and has a lot of violations. They'll get an extension for another 2 years, so they wouldn't even have to come in for renewal until 4 years. And so that's one of the things that we try to do to help reduce the cost. And so we really thought by at least having fire, make sure that they're okay, we're making sure that the venue is safe, because that is the premise on which the program was built. But you're correct, not having them go through multiple inspections is one of the ways that we're working to streamline those costs.
Which I think that is really great that you brought that up. So when this goes live, are you guys looking to have a potential Q&A? Because these are a lot of the questions that I'll hear from businesses. How do we do this? What is the cost? How many times do I have to have an inspection?
Oh, yeah. We'll be doing a lot of outreach. I spend a lot of time with Dustin, and we're doing a lot of things in terms of outreach. And even before we did this, we took a lot of time in terms of going out beyond the core. We went to, we really wanted to go to all of the different commercial corridors. And so we met with so many different people outside of the central city to make sure that they were well aware of what we were doing. And so we will continue to do that. We will put together a program where we can have folks come in, because we want people to be successful when they come in and apply. So we're going to make sure that we have FAQs available for them. We'll make sure that we can talk them through the process. We'll make sure that they understand what they need to do when they submit their application so that they're well prepared. So when they're ready to go, they can have them go through the process quickly.
And we're also going to help educate people whether or not the limited entertainment permit is actually the right permit for them, or whether they should explore the full entertainment permit, because it's not entirely about the occupancy of the space. It's also what the intended use, if they really want to push into those later nights and things in that nature.
I appreciate it, and just remember, North Natomas, we don't have a PBID, we don't have a business district, so getting me as much information that I can get out to my small businesses would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm in full support of this, and thank you for our briefing the other day. And this is something that I heard a lot running for mayor last year, is that, you can have thriving entertainment districts in the central city, but also across the city and neighborhoods that aren't the core, and also respect neighborhoods. And it's always about a balance. But one thing that I heard loud and clear, which you're attempting to address here, is it's not always even. They're not apples to apples. Some are amplified music and hundreds of people. Some are, a lounge or a coffee shop, a little cafe that like to bring in, live music on a lower scale, more kind of a loungy type experience. And so I do appreciate that we're providing that and having adjusting fees. And I guess my only point of this all is we have a motion a second. I fully support that. Is hopefully we can follow this and revisit it and tweak and adapt if needed. And so make sure there's a process to focusing on implementation and feedback as we go along.
We can do that.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none. Measure passes. Next item.
Passes unanimously with Councilmember Maple absent. We move to item 21, budgetary adjustments for Old Sac Revitalization and Improvement Project.
Good evening. Mayor, Council, my name is James Christensen, and I am here to discuss the replacement for the dining deck located over the Sacramento River. It's located at 1110 Front Street. This is formerly the Rio City Cafe. Okay, well, let's start out. Why does the deck need to be replaced? So the wooden deck is over 30 years old. It was installed somewhere around 1993. During those 30 years, it has been exposed to sun, wind, rain, moisture, and has deteriorated significantly. We had a report done in 2018. It was a facilities condition assessment, and that FCA, facility assessment, recommended a full structural review, and in their mind that the deck needed to be replaced. So actions. What has the city done, what we've found since 2020? So in early 2020, we hired a structural engineer to evaluate the deck. They monitored the deck. Since then, they've monitored the deck every year to ensure its safety. We've had to close a couple of areas of the deck that we were unreliable. And we've installed additional shoring, particularly on the north side of the deck, so that the deck can continue to be used. Unfortunately, in April of 24, we had to close the deck completely for safety reasons. So our engineer's review. So this photo kind of tells it all of how we ended up where we're at. So you can see on the right side of the photo, the lower portion there, how the deck is sagging significantly. You've got a lot of dry rot there. Not only is it sagging, you can't see it in the picture, but the deck is pushing out towards the water in addition to that. So once this was evaluated, this is what basically closed a section of the deck, and this was in 2020. Later in 2020, we brought our structural engineer back out again to look at it. This time we had some scaffolding installed. They were able to see more of the deck and under the deck. And by doing a more thorough review, they came up with some new evaluations and and the engineer recommended new closures. So we ended up closing another part of the deck, and we ended up limiting access to some areas of the deck. So this is a plan review. If you were looking up above and looking down at the site, you see the building down below, the Sacramento River at the top, and then you can see the deck area in the multicolors. Over on the right side, you see the northwest section. That was the section that was closed. I showed you the picture earlier that showed the most damage. That in the beginning had the most damage. When the scaffolding went up and they were able to look at more of the deck, we have the other area that's kind of in red in the center of it. That area also had to be closed. The open for dining, that's the center area there. That's most of the area that was under the covered patio and wasn't deteriorated quite as much because it had the cover from the patio. Then we have the yellow. That was passage only, so exiting or staff moving back and forth there, but they could no longer use that area for dining. So by 2022, we'd had a couple of wet winters, and the damage had gotten worse, and particularly once again on that northwest side, which is what got us out there in the first place. So the engineers recommended additional supports, and so we added additional shoring to the northwest section so that even though that section wasn't being used, it wouldn't deteriorate so bad as to fall in the floor or completely fail and making it so the rest of the deck could not be used. Quick little photo here that just shows what all that entailed. Working over the Sacramento River is a challenge. You've got water levels that go up and down. You've got currents that move fast, and you've got multiple regulatory agencies. And so this picture just kind of shows you everything it takes to work underneath there. All the scaffolding had to be put up at a time when the river was low enough and get the folks in there to do the shoring. So the new deck. From 2020 to 2024, we've been working, as everything else I told you was going on, parallel with that, we were working on the deck design. And so the engineers, contractors, and city had been working on that for almost 4 years, and finally in January of 2024, those construction documents were completed. The outline of the new deck is basically the exact same outline of the old deck, which allows us to do this under a maintenance contract, which simplifies our agency reviews. So because this is such a complex project, I mentioned the water levels going up and down, the current. We've got time of the year, I'll explain that in a second, that you can work out there. This is a picture showing underneath the deck, looking from the docks down below, kind of just gives you an idea of what you're up against. In this picture, everything above the top of the pole has to be removed. So that big board, that's called a glue lam, the columns going the other way, all of that stuff has to come out. So we decided to use the design assist approach, and that's where you bring a contractor in a little bit earlier in the process to get them to work with the consultants to end up with a better set of plans, and you get to choose a contractor on quality to start with, and then they ultimately come up with what's called the GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, to build the deck. So Triamid was chosen through the process we went through. As I mentioned earlier, working over the Sacramento River, we've got a lot of different agencies that have jurisdiction. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we've got state agencies, including Fish and Wildlife, State Lands, Flood Protection Board. And because of the policies and procedures of these different agencies, you pretty much can only work on under the water, or over the water from May through October, unless you've got some special permission. Thus, that's what we're shooting for. Timeline update. So April 2024, project was paused. We had to close the deck. January 2025, we are restarting the project, which is why we're here today. And our goal is for this to be constructed and completed during from May to October. If this is approved today, we will hit the ground running because there's a lot of work that has to be done up front before we actually physically get out there and start building. So we're really hopeful that will happen. Talk about funding real quick. So back in 23-24, we were unable to secure funding. In 2024, State of California awarded the city a $4.6 million grant through the Budget Act. That gave us the funds to do this project. City Council adopted that in March of this past year, in 2025. We've got a final construction cost of $2.95 million, approximately $3 million. Understand that that's construction only. That doesn't include contingencies, construction management, inspections, special inspections, et cetera. So I think the last total budget we put together was right around 4.3, so the 4.6 should get us home. And there you go. I am available for questions.
Okay.
Mayor, I have no speakers on this item.
Okay, do we have questions or comments from council members? Mr. Pluckybaum.
I'll open and close the public comment period and waive public comment, move staff recommendation.
Okay, we have motion. Second. Motion and a second. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks, Mayor. And looking at the drawings, it wasn't clear to me whether some portion of the deck with the plans you have now, excuse me, not to have the deck of the building, will be lost in this process.
Only a very small section that I kind of didn't get into. It's over on that northwest side. There's a small section that was scabbed onto the building at a later date that extends over the deck. And so we're going to just kind of chop that off along the way and rebuild that wall. And then that's the only change to the building itself.
So when the cafe was operating, what was that space used for, do you know?
I think it was an office space, the extension of an office, or it was storage, I'm not positive.
And roughly how many square feet are you going to lose?
I'm thinking it's maybe 4 by 8, 4 feet by 8 feet. It's relatively small.
I just wondered whether that becomes a little bit of a challenge in terms of someone else coming along who might, obviously they can adapt to the space available, but losing that space is unfortunate.
Understood. It wasn't permitted. It wasn't installed correctly. It needs to come down. We would then have to rebuild it, and we probably would want to rebuild it in a different way. So then it's going to add cost to the project. And that's, in the end, it was like the best solution for the building and the deck was for that little section to go away.
We are where we are, but I will just say I have heard so many comments from people that were deeply disappointed that the city did not find the way to address the deck in a way, in a timely manner that would have allowed cafe operators to continue, the long-time cafe operators that obviously we want to go forward, but we should be mindful, in my judgment, of those kinds of circumstances when we see them in the future, because I can tell you, for a lot of the people I've spoken to, it's left a very bad impression, a very bad sense about how this was handled, and so you can't unring the bell, you can't go back in time, but hopefully there are some lessons here for us as we look at other circumstances in the future.
Understood.
Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. So that last bridge lasted about 30 years, correct?
Correct.
And so with the new materials and different kinds of maintenance and different time, how long do we expect this bridge to last?
It's a good question. So one thing I didn't bring up is, the lower portion of it is going to be in steel this time. So the larger beams, the larger columns, or the, I forget what they're called, but the ones that come off trusses, right? That's all going to be steel. So that lifetime is, I don't know what it is, but it's a very, very long lifetime, right? Above that will be your wood. And so it depends on how well it's maintained, how well it's painted. I suspect we'll get at least 30 years out of it. But if we do get to the point where we have to redo it, we won't have to go all the way down, and it won't be as expensive, right? We'll pretty much be above basically the wood deck and above is what would have to get redone.
Still on the bottom. So you're thinking another 30 years. What kind of maintenance can we add to that on a yearly basis? Yearly maintenance that can make that last longer?
I think, well, one of the things that happens here is when we do our leases. So if we do a new lease for this, to make sure we really look at the lease and we look at the maintenance in the lease and the responsibilities of the maintenance of the lease, and make sure that we're happy and comfortable with who's going to do that, whether that's the city or the leasee, because sometimes that gets us into trouble. So I think that's making sure that the correct words, we can work with our real estate staff to assist that lease, I think can get us in a better location.
Okay. And you'll give the city information about the maintenance that's required in order to maintain the bridge?
Yes, we can provide that.
And then the last thing was, you were awarded in 2024 $4.6 million. Congratulations. And I heard that only 4.3 is going to be needed for the budget. So the extra money goes to maintenance?
You know, I'd love that. I'm not sure at this point, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? We've got an estimate. It's an estimate. We've got a budget. Let's get this deck replaced, and let's hopefully have some savings.
Yes. Well, thank you. I know we have a motion and a second. I just want to say this is very positive news, and all we can do is move forward. So I just want to note that big picture, the river is the marquee place in our city. Our city was formed, the confluence of two rivers. We always lament when we go traveling across the globe, everybody on this dais, that they go to other cities and we don't activate our river as much as we should. So this has been two areas where we can go, not two, several along the Sacramento River right there in Old Sacramento. So we've seen it firsthand, and it was unfortunate what happened. And I just want to note that at the very end of my legislative career, one of the final votes that we took was to adopt an amendment to the budget to include resources to focus on Old Sacramento infrastructure, just this. So just to clarify, there wasn't a grant of months in the waiting. This became part of the public domain. Some leaders, frankly, in our state saw, oh, wow, this is a state asset. The state of California actually owns, as we know, Old Sacramento, and thought, you know what? This is our, responsibility as well. So there was, thankfully, an opportunity to include some resources to focus on the state asset, which the city is a partner with, to upgrade this important piece of the city of Sacramento. And lastly, last night was a big deal here in Sacramento. We have Major League Baseball in our region. People are walking from the downtown through Old Sac to the ballpark, and I want them to see a sign, hey, coming soon, improvements being made on public access to our riverfront. So this is very, very timely, and I expect us to be done before October, so this will be ready to roll and have a new operator by next year. Thank you. Congratulations. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Hearing none. Item passes 8-0.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, we now move to item number 22, Transit Occupancy Tax, TOT, past, present, and future presentation.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Megan Van Voris, Director of Convention and Cultural Services for this city. We manage the enterprise fund, which, for your reference, includes the funds that come from the Convention and Performing Arts District, plus the transient occupancy tax. And so in that capacity, I was asked to take the lead on this presentation, but I will tell you, it's a team effort. Everyone from the finance office to the treasurer's office to economic development and in between. And so those folks are all here today to answer any other questions that you might have that I don't get to. So today I'll be focusing mostly on the transient occupancy itself, what the law is, what changed with the passage of Measure N, where the money comes from, and where it goes. I would also like to point out I'm joined by Mike Testa, President and CEO of Visit Sacramento, who was here? There you are. Who's also be available for questions and is an amazing partner for us in the Department of Convention and Cultural Services. All right, so the Uniform Transient Occupancy Tax is Section 3.28 of the City Code. It is a voter-approved tax on what they call rent. Rent is defined in the code at hotels, motels, etc. It applies to stays fewer than 30 days. And its fundamental purpose was to support and maintain facilities and activities that stimulate visitation. That's always been a part of the purpose of the code, and even with the change, it remains a critical element of the code. It was originally passed in 1964 and has been amended over the time frame, mostly from the perspective of the actual tax itself. Most recently in 2022, and in 2022 it included updates to the uses of the funds, which I'll go through in a minute. So the tax itself is 12%, which is generally comparable to other markets that we operate that are also applying taxes of this nature. It is comprised of a 2% general tax, which goes to support the general fund and can be used for any governmental purpose, as well as a special use tax, which is 10%, and is restricted by code and includes and defines an annual payment to Visit Sacramento as a part of the code. By way of example, if the nightly rate is $100, then the tax would be $12, and that gets split with $2 going to the general fund and $10 to the community center fund. From 1964 to 2022, the uses were focused on really the public assembly and convention halls themselves. So you can see actually the old photo there, as well as all of the infrastructure to support those public assembly and convention halls. That might be rights of way, that could be like parking, et cetera. And then also Visit Sacramento's annual payment. Things like administration of the chapter, lease payments, interest and principal payments on the bonds. This is something that's going to come up in a minute. Those were always a part of the code, and they remained a part of the code with Measure N. 2022, the city pursued Measure N to give greater clarity and flexibility on the use of funds while remaining in the overall intent of the objective of the measure, which is to advance visitation. I'll walk you through the code itself right now and call out the specific changes and implications. The first use is fairly straightforward, administration of the provisions of the chapter. Economic development projects to create local jobs was added to the code in 2022. And so far, in terms of interpretation, we find that economic development projects are considered within the larger context of the statute, which once again is encouraging visitation or enhancing the city as a visitor destination. Intentionally, these are catalytic projects in terms of the work. The one-time $2 million contribution to support iconic events that you all did in November qualified within this category of the code. Language was added to clarify that facilities be visitor-serving facilities that promote tourism, economic development, and other activities that bolster the local economy. Within that context, theater and arts venues were added as allowable expenditures against TOT. This has so far been interpreted to include only those facilities where the city has a possessory interest. Thus, the addition of theater and arts venues meant that some other visitor-serving city facilities, like the Crocker Art Museum, the zoo, et cetera, were now eligible for TOT. The rest of the chapter remains largely intact from its origins and delineated here. Expenses in connections with proposals to acquire facilities, interest and principal on bond payments related to those facilities is defined in Section 3. Lease payments for the lease of any of those facilities referred into that section. Shown here is actual TOT revenue from FY 2018 to our projected revenues for FY 25. You'll note the steep decline in revenues in FY 20 and 21, which were partly pandemic related. Luckily, we had already factored in that the facilities would be closed for construction and renovation. You see the rebound in recent years and a stabilizing of TOT revenues. Just for this. Here you see the split of TOT revenues to the general fund and the community center fund. So $7 million in 2025, $35 million to the community center fund. And the change in contribution to Visit Sacramento over time. Again, that amount is defined in the code and adjusts based on the CPI. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the critical role Visit Sacramento plays in positioning the city as a visitor destination overall. It's not just conventions, they're really influencing the full $42 million that you see there with their work. So when they fill rooms for conventions and other events, those leftover rooms become more valuable, the prices go up. And when those prices go up, that means we also get more TOT. So it's just really important. And also, Visit Sac's just an amazing partner. I have received the question of what the balance in the TOT fund is, and I just wanted to clarify that's really important. There is no TOT fund. There is the enterprise fund, which is combined of the revenues that come from the Safe Credit Union Convention and Performing Arts District, as well as the TOT. And you'll recall that last week I shared that there is something of a symbiotic relationship between our earned revenues and TOT. For example, we'll forego room rentals on certain events if they meet certain room night thresholds, so we can capture the TOT revenues and ancillary revenues. You can just see here earned revenues in the fund. You follow that trajectory that we saw earlier. They are on a growth trajectory and have exceeded their pre-pandemic numbers, which is quite exciting. Here's a chart that shows TOT by region. It's shown by region as opposed to district, so as not to disclose any one business's revenue. North Sacramento makes up about 31% of TOT revenue collected. Central Sacramento makes up about 53%. South Sacramento makes up about 9%, and then short-term rentals account for roughly 6% of collected revenues. To take a minute to share the FY25 Community Center Fund TOT expenses and obligations. So debt service, which makes up a really significant portion of that pie, is for the $300 million plus renovation and expansion, and also, because we don't talk about it often, did include funding for the Memorial Auditorium as a part of that effort. Convention Center includes a $1.5 million annual contribution to CIPs, in lieu franchise fees that are around $1.7 million, in lieu property tax fees around $500,000, and $4.3 million for operations. Cultural partners includes those partners where the city has some possessory interest of the facility. For example, the Crocker Art Museum, which makes up the largest portion of that at $2.9 million. There's a note there, the collections and the building are the city's, and we also employ city staff at the Crocker, so it is very much us. The zoo, Center for Sacramento History, Sac History Museum, and Mosaic Operations are also considered here. Oh, don't go back. Go back. sorry about that. City expenses include citywide support expenses of around $2.5 million. So we have the city cost share. We're responsible for, like other departments, like all of the important things that the city offers to us in terms of services, as well as insurance. Includes a risk loan of $250,000 that I believe the city took up in the early 2000s. Fleet of $141,000 and IT CIP of $60,000. Aside from this, we have the Golden One Center possessory interest tax, which was moved to the fund in FY25, and Visit Sacramento's annual payment, which includes $100,000 for the Sports Commission. Notably, on the FY25 slide, this does not include the $2 million for iconic events. That's expected later. Just wanted to call that out. Okay. Just a few considerations to share in regards to the future of TOT. One, the waterfront project, phase 1. We were obviously just talking about that. That was approved for $25 million, and we're in process in terms of moving that forward. It's my understanding that because we got the extra funding for the deck, that project will likely come a little bit later in the year, in the second half of the year. The waterfront phase 2, which includes the north and south public markets. I do believe the waterfront phase 1 includes design for phase 2, correct? Okay. The Mosaic bond payment. So this is something that is largely, for the most part, it's about $1 million a year, $600,000 of it, which is borne only by the TOT if the TOT comes in higher than budget. So typically the general fund will have this responsibility for paying this unless we come in on TOT higher than we anticipated, in which case it can be moved to TOT. Deferred maintenance, which is ongoing, and it's worth it to consider the fact that we will likely eventually have capital needs. We're doing a really good job of keeping up with all of that at the Convention and Performing Arts District, but that's likely to eventually be a need. The Crocker Art Museum, I will just point out, has something on the order of $7 million in deferred maintenance there. Other buildings, History Museum, what happens with the zoo site, like these are all places that you might imagine that we might turn to for. And then any other commitments by council subject to the requirements of the code. A touch about bonding capacity, and I know we have John Colville here, and he's definitely more expert at this, and so we'll be available to answer questions. But future bonding capacity is subject to TOT growth and the scale of any anticipated projects. Factors influencing capacity itself includes the inherent risk in the project itself, projected revenues for the TOT, the prior 12 months of revenues, existing or future known TOT obligations, including any decisions council might make on budget that would be relative or relevant to this, and broader market factors. So that is my brief presentation. Staff and Mike Tester are available to answer any questions you might have about the TOT.
There I have
Okay,
three
thank you.
speakers.
Thank you. We'd like to do public comment first. We have 3 speakers.
Thank you. Eva Hill, Mac Worthy, then Shira Lane.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for your service here. I'm Eva Hill, and I'd like to just tell you I have the answer for part of your TOT issues. I have a hotel project that's been planned and designed and put through the building with a shovel-ready building permit for 9th and L Street. It is 265 rooms with 55 apartments on the top, 1/2 of which are affordable by design. And I'm here, the project has been put in front of the city for the last several years with a request for assistance, and that's primarily because the interest rates went up 5%. And when you have a $100 million loan, 5% means you need to make another $5 million a year. So I would just like to tell you, I'm going to be bringing this back to the city again, and I would like for you to give it some earnest attention. We are shovel ready. The permits are ready to be pulled, and I would like to just ask that you do the right thing and help get this project going. Thank you very much. Do you
your
have any
comments.
questions for me? Thank you.
Next speaker is Mac Worthy.
Do we have we given any hotels and the rebates like what she's asking for?
Wasn't the TOT tax was first came in because it was a hotel? Did any homeless people go into that hotel? All the hotels that you got homeless people in down here now, is that still on a TOT tax? People, if I was y'all, I straighten this shit out, because what we're saying, this lady here talked about her hotel, but you done put $10 or $15 million to grants from the state over here. What are you doing to the people? You are telling free enterprise, we don't want you, but we'll do this for the state. That's slavery, people. That's slavery. That's controlled by the system. You don't. Free enterprise is not designed that way. Every job here you're going to have to go through the city to get on the TOT. People, that's ridiculous. What they happened in New York at TOT tax, you had people, the homeless in there, and you had people illegally here in that. Now, we may find that we get the right investigators here, is what you have done. You talk about a long-term and short-term stay. You ain't had no big convictions here in years. So what are you saying to the people? You're lying to the people. That's what you're doing. You're lying to the people in order to have this a state-owned everything. That's what you're doing. And it's going to be sad down the line. That's the reason we tell Trump, cut all federal grants to the state of California, because they're misusing the money. We need an investigation, and we need an outside audit to tell you where that money went. It's ridiculous.
Thank you for your comments. Shira Lane is our final speaker on this item.
Hi, my name is Shira Lane. I'm with Atrium 916, Creative Innovation Center for Sustainability. Thank you, Council. We are located in Old Sacramento. We see about 148,000 people a year. We are in the tourist district, and I would love to see TOT go more to the creative economy in any way that can happen. There's a lot of opportunity to happen in Old Sacramento. We need to see more arts in Old Sacramento. This is where a lot of people go for tourism. They want to see the local art, and I feel like there could be more. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no more speakers on this item.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Talamantes.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Cobell, our city treasurer, can you please come up?
Jacket on especially for you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
So last year, when we were going through these exercises of how we're going to spend our TOT, Cobell's department was not looped in regarding any of the conversations, which I found unacceptable since they're our city treasurer and have been heavily involved with the passage of Measure N, the logic, the history behind it. So moving forward to staff direction, make sure that the city treasurer's office gets included in as part of these conversations. But Mr. Cobell, can you tell us what our bond capacity looks like? Can you run through the numbers, please?
Well, Vice Mayor, that's a difficult question now. After a great presentation, very good, Megan, but she identified some of the uncertainties right now. When we gave past valuations about what was available, it was based on 12 months past revenue. So based on that, there's a $90 to $130 million. But the problem exists now with the passage of Measure N. Not only did you create more opportunity for the use of TOT, but you also increased the universe of TOT expenses. So if you noticed on Megan's pie chart, a lot more money is coming out of the community center fund that used to be paid by the general fund, like the Crocker Museum and things like that. So now we're trying to incorporate expenses into the cash flow. So trying to determine what's ongoing or what's one time is going to make it difficult for us to determine at this point, until you do your budget analysis, what's really going to be available, because you're taking more money out of TOT that was used to be paid by the general fund. So that you're kind of reducing the capacity of the TOT because the general fund's offloading some of its liabilities.
Can I time out real quick? That's a key point that we should That's a key point that we should zero in on. Can we take a little time out? Can you go to that slide and walk us through in great detail? Specifically, like before and after.
Well, I would talk to Pete, to have him come up and talk about what's before and after, but a lot of the cultural partners, those expenses were borne by the general fund in the last year. And again, they're going to be this year to offset some of the loss, the budget concerns. So in the past, those were paid for by the general fund. That's why I could give you a credible number on available cash for the TOT capacity. Now, not knowing what you're going to agree upon, what you're going to offload from the general fund, it's hard for me to determine what exactly is left to pay the debt service. Does that make sense to y'all?
Wait, so, yeah, actually, that actually opens up kind of a can of worms here. So we are already using TOT dollars as a city from that we used to do general fund. Now we're using TOT dollars. We used that last year. And so this 3.3 is going to be annual every year so far, next year, the following year. We already made those commitment for the Measure N dollars?
That's correct. When you adopted the FY 24-25 budget. Yeah.
I thought we did just for 1 year.
City Manager, you want to speak up on that?
Sure. What was included in the proposed 25 budget was permanent and ongoing.
24-25 budget.
Correct.
Last year.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Then in that case, I mean,
The current year budget that we're in, 24-25. Yes.
I knew we made these commitments last year. I just didn't realize that we were doing it permanently for every year moving forward. So, okay, I mean, well,
So that creates the dilemma, as you, Vice Mayor. It's hard for me to determine what's available because I don't know what's going to be spent out of that fund.
So last year when we were having these conversations, I requested from staff a strategic 2-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, like a guiding framework of how we're going to be able to use these Measure N dollars. And that's, I guess, now I'm glad we're doing direction because I still want that. You know, we have to be really strategic on how we're going to use these monies to increase more monies that we can have as a city. The whole goal of this is to put $1 in and get $1 back out. I mean, that's equal, but put $1 in and get $3 out. It's to grow our revenues through getting people to Sacramento. We need someone from Austin or New York or any other city of the Bay Area to say, hey, I want to come to Sacramento for this reason, therefore I'm going to stay in a hotel room for this reason. And that's the whole goal of TOT. And I think for me, moving forward, having a strategic plan with measurable, with goals and metrics and seeing when we're going to come back and see if what we're investing our money on is working is so important. Do you want to answer, Jazzo? Sorry, you look like you want to punch up.
No, I appreciate the desire to have a plan. It is a bit challenging, as John is saying, for a couple of reasons right now. Number one is, in some ways, it reflects on what we put on the TOT, hence cultural partners and other things. It's also a function of the growth of the TOT. So, for instance, we are looking at what the growth of the TOT, and I think in that chart you saw that post the pandemic, the growth kind of skyrocketed. Now is stabilizing down to about 2.1% per annum in this year. We hope and believe that maybe that will hopefully be, I think it was in the table that you have, but honestly, we don't know that for a fact for a number of reasons. Visitation will probably be affected by the economic environment we're entering into. So the idea of a plan becomes a bit difficult. Council can identify, certain priorities, and I think those priorities were laid out in the sense of clearly we want to maintain our existing visiting serving facilities, whether that's the waterfront or certainly the convention center or the memorial auditorium. That's probably a first priority. Just keep what you have in good shape. And then we look at other opportunities with respect to that. We had focused on the waterfront just as a reminder, because the waterfront is the #1 location of visitation to Sacramento, on something on the order of, I believe the estimate is perhaps as high as 5 million visitors a year. So it makes sense for us to invest in the upkeep of the waterfront. As the mayor pointed out, it's the front door of the city. It's, the iconic place for the confluence of two important rivers. But looking beyond that, at least right now, is probably a little bit difficult. So from a plan perspective, that becomes a little bit difficult. From a priorities perspective, I think we can clearly lay out what are the priorities from a TOT perspective.
Yes, City Manager?
Right. The other thing that we are looking at, and you saw the dip, which, well, you didn't see the dip because you saw the COVID and the closure dip, but the recessionary dip. And one of the things that I'm concerned about as we continue to see the economic fallout from our current administration, if travel declines and our TOT does not grow the path that we thought it would prior to the last 3 months, and or takes a hit because people stop traveling and stop spending money on that, which we're starting to see everywhere else, this picture and that analysis changes also. So that is something that we're going to keep an eye on for over the next 12 to 24 months. Even our ability to issue tranche 1 and when that will happen and if that will happen.
Yeah, to piggyback what Laney just said, is we just did analysis. We had CBRE run an analysis. We just got draft 1 back Friday, I believe, that we're going through. That's showing not a huge dip in tourism. Mostly it's going to be affected by border towns like Seattle and places like that. Not much here, but the growth rate is slowing. Growth rate is slowing. We were at an average of, since inception, I think average of 3.5% growth rate. We're down in the 2s now. So if we do issue any debt, we'll do similar to what we did in 2019. We'll do a stress test, and plus or minus a standard deviation will determine whether we can pay the debt. It was a great activity then, but the COVID kind of was a black swan event that didn't fall into the parameters.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the answer.
I'm sorry that I couldn't be more specific, but
yeah,
that's kind of the dilemma I'm dealing with.
Go ahead.
Just on the same line, if we were to hold the funding that council voted last year to take general fund to use TOT to support the current cultural services, if we held that, what is our bond capacity? I know you said that you can't really estimate, but let's say that we just used that and we didn't do any more. Because something that council will vote, we can always unvote, right? We can always change it. But if we held that constant, what would be the bond capacity?
If you still paid the $3 million to Crocker, I have to go through and do the analysis with the community center fund and see what the actual expenses are. But like I said, prior to that, we were at 90 to 130.
Okay, 90 to 130.
But that's without the old
Without
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Well, that was after the 25 million for the old SAC.
Oh, so that's after.
Okay, we'll come back.
The first tranche.
Talamontes, can you finish your questions?
Yes. Okay, thank you. That's actually that 90 to 130 was kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I know we had discussed that in the past. Okay, that's helpful. That's a number I wanted to hear. But I guess for staff moving forward from my direction, I really want to make sure that we have a 2-year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year, like a framework of how we're going to operate as a city with the measure in dollars. That includes the input of Visit Sacramento, who's helping us get all these hotel rooms, the Downtown Sacramento Partnership, and the different just stakeholders here in this region. We need to work together as a team to bring more tourism here. I'd also like to see, a review of the last 5 years of TOT investment and how it's panning out, which I think the numbers already do on your slide, so thank you. That was going to be one of my asks. And then, all of us here have different ideas for our council districts of economic drivers. I have one. I have the McClellan Dock. I have my Taco Truck Plaza. I have different projects in my district that I'm thinking like, okay, well, what can I do to bring to my community so that people can visit? And I know all of us are kind of thinking and floating ideas in the community. So how are we going to go about council request for projects? And then also, like, are we making the decision now, this year, next year, or, do we hold off on some monies for future generations to come so that they can also make those decisions? Or do we allocate all the monies now and then don't leave future councils the opportunity to also, participate in these dollars? And say a great opportunity comes our way. Mr. Testa brings somebody and says, hey, somebody is interested in Sacramento for X, Y, and Z reasons. We've proven that we can be a Major League Baseball team or soccer. Like, do we have capacity as a city? And then how will we know that and how will we gauge that as we move forward with our Measure N dollars? So I just, making sure that TOT is distributed throughout the entire city of Sacramento is really important to me. I know people don't think about Natomas sometimes as like a destination, but let's talk about the North Natomas Community Center and Aquatics Facility and all the parents and families that are coming for swim meets and staying in hotels overnight. Like, this is all something to consider, not just our downtown core, which I love our downtown core, but something for staff to consider, like how are we going to go about projects moving forward as they come down the pipeline for all the communities. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, because if you talk about the aquatic center, it wasn't allowable expense at that time, where it would be now.
I remember. I remember very clearly.
You were deep into it.
I was there. Thank you.
You were there. You remember it all too well. All too well?
Yeah, I remember.
Councilmember Vang.
Thank you, Mayor. First, wanted just to thank Megan. Thank you so much just for your very thorough and high-level presentation. I think it's really important just so that we know how TOT operates. I really just want to say thank you to you and also Mike as well. And thank you, John, for being here and being able to, answer any questions. And, I remember when we started the conversation, me and the former mayor went to you, additionally, to figure out how we could redirect some of the TOT funding for a potential project in South Sacramento, and hearing that, the Aquatic Center, the North Natomas Aquatic Center, couldn't utilize some of those funding. And so, as you know, in 2022, the voters passed Measure N to give more flexibility, right, on how we could use those dollars outside of the city core to generate more TOT for economic growth and job opportunities. I do want to share that the language that we updated on, the intent was to just broaden the language so that we could use it. We can have the flexibility, right, to use TOT in a way that we weren't able before. And I just want to share, because I was part of those conversations as well, is that we kept the language broad enough because we wanted that flexibility so we could use those dollars in other parts of the city that would bring economic opportunities for underserved communities. And the actual language that we changed it to, if you actually look at the red line, we kept it so broad to the point where it says, bolster the economy visitor serving facility that promotes tourism, economic development, and other activities, right? We kept it pretty broad so that it would, it could basically be more flexible, right? And the reason why that's important, and I want to talk a little bit about that graph that you saw the dip during the pandemic, and I mentioned this during the 102 Acres workshop as well, is that during the pandemic, downtown was hit hard. No concert, no events in downtown, no conferences, no convention, right? And that hurt us citywide because we've always made investment in downtown, right? And so that's why you saw the dip in TOT funding in 2020 and 21. I think one of the very few tourism sectors that did not take a hard hit, and Mike Testa can talk about this as well, was regional and national youth sports, like even during the pandemic, right? And I say that because I think it's so important that we have to diversify the use of our TOT spending, that when we only invest in one sector, like we're going to pay for that if we're in a pandemic, if there's a recession coming. I think it's really important to diversify our TOT. And I only mention that because many young people and community members in South Sacramento want to see a multi-use sports complex in the area in South Sacramento. And I also just want to acknowledge, very similar to Vice Mayor Talamantes, that I also am cognizant that there may be shovel-ready projects in other districts that might be able to use TOT, and I would support them wholeheartedly as a council member from District 8, right? We have to make sure that all districts are doing well. However, I also just want to say that there are projects like the 102 Acres in Meadowview that might not be ready until 5 or 8 years, or other opportunities in underserved community like District 2 or District 5 and 6, right? And it's important for me that those dreams and those neighborhoods become a reality too. And I only say this because I see the stats, I see the data. South Sacramento brings in the lowest TOT, but that's not by accident. It's not by accident because we never had invested in those neighborhoods. So you're not going to see the return, right? And something I just want to share with my colleagues is that as policymaker, like we should also do our very best to set up frameworks and policy now to ensure that we actually don't reinforce wealth and racial disparities, right? And so while yes, downtown is the heart of Sacramento, I hear that. While downtown flourishes, we can't ignored red line communities that continue to struggle in development and lack of infrastructure, right? And so for me, I know that Vice Mayor Talamantes provided some direction. I also want to provide some direction as well. Because this is really important and because this is a workshop to provide direction, I do want this item to come back because I do think that it'd be important for staff to take lots of notes and figure out like really what that framework would be. One, Vice Mayor Talamantes requested for 3 things I heard. One is a guiding framework for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years projects. The second one she also mentioned was that she wants a review of 5 years TOT investment performance. I'm in alignment with that. I think I love to see like how we've done the past 5 years, our investment, our performance. And then she also mentioned probably an annual report on TOT. In addition to that, I want to provide staff direction that as you're creating this framework to ensure that revenue is distributed across the city. I'm not going to say what percentage in what district because I really want to make sure that we leave that flexibility, but with a particular focus on supporting growing economies and underserved communities. And then secondly, I also think it's really important to have safeguard to prevent underserved areas from losing potential funding, right? If we're not intentional about the dollars, we're never going to see the investment in these neighborhoods. And so I'm also cognizant that, when we use some of the TOT dollars, it will replenish, right? Because, we're also hoping that the other dollars will come out on the other side. But I like to ask staff to bring back options. I don't know if other city has done this, but even a threshold on TOT spending so that we have funding set aside for future projects that may be in the pipeline, right? I don't know what that may look like, but really trust staff to take our kind of guidance and figure out what would that threshold be. I don't know, like 50%, I'm not sure, right? I don't know what other city has done, but I think that's really important. But to also allow that flexibility, that's why I'm not saying District 8 in particular. I think allowing that flexibility is really key. And so those are the 2 things that I would add to the direction in addition to what Talamantes had mentioned. And then the other piece I'll share is that I've heard from folks that like, hey, if we invest in South Sacramento, there's not a lot of hotels there, so we're not going to generate TOT. And for me, I feel like that argument is like scapegoating because like you've never invested in South Sacramento, right? And when you do that, resources and funding will come. But you never have taken a chance on South Sacramento. When I say you, meaning like the system, right? And as policymakers, that's our responsibility. That's our job, is to make sure that we don't reinforce wealth and racial disparities. We have the opportunity as policymakers to do that. And I think we have the opportunity to do that with TOT, to show that we can still have a really strong economy, right? And that we can do that while we're investing in underserved communities. And that has to be a central part of TOT. That's really important for me because, again, I may not be here, in 8 years or so when something breaks ground in 102, on the 102 acres or in other parts of the city, but that this policy governing body made a decision that, we're going to set aside a certain amount for TOT to be invested in underserved communities. And so that would be my direction on this item. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I guess right off the bat, I want to clarify with city staff on the 3.3 million because, I clearly remember indicating to both the community partners, because I made the motion, or at least the combined motion for the History Museum, Mosaic, and I think the other one was the Crocker, that the sudden dip in our sales tax revenue was unexpected and unexpected for them, and so that this could be a bridge funding for the short term. So let me be very clear about what I said, and you can pull up the tapes and remind it. And that's was in the budget committee and also in the full committee. So if there was a misunderstanding, it's important that we are sympathetic and understanding and the need to recognize that Mosaic, our Sacramento History Museum, and the Crocker, they're important assets. And but if I recall correctly, we were sending a signal to the boards that they needed to figure out what the long-term gap, how they were going to fill that long-term. Now, Mosaic, clearly, obviously I'm a big advocate for science. They just started, they got their footing on the ground. So, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, but not in perpetuity, I think let's make that clear. And I want to make sure that, Chair, I'll say Chair Dickinson here in the Budget Committee, that we have that conversation again, because we want to make sure we're figuring out how we're using these TOT dollars. Those are important assets again, and I want to figure out how we support them. The second, I think, piece, and I wasn't going to punch up here, but this conversation has led me to also think through of some direction. There are drafters of an initiative, and then there are the people who vote for the initiative. And I know clearly, the folks who, thought about this initiative in my district and voted for it were because they wanted to see more stimulus in the entire city. They also wanted to see stimulus in their neighborhood as well. But and it wasn't particularly one project or another, but that's one of the reasons. And yes, I think youth sports was a factor in it. Mostly, as I know, how much I spend when I have to go to San Jose for 3 days, 2 nights for my kid to basically compete for, maybe 30 minutes, and the cost of that. But, that tax revenue stays in Santa Clara County. There is a huge piece to that. So my direction then would be to staff here is that they work with Visit Sacramento. And I know they've been doing studies, and the studies have done it during different times where the economy was in flux. But I think it's important that we work with Visit Sac to get the most optimal activities, as was stated, activities that stimulate visitation. And I believe, yes, I think we should look at the windows of timing here. One, to understand kind of where the economy is. I mean, in a couple days, the 25% tariffs may hit, and that may change a lot of behavior. But maybe people won't be buying new minivans, and now we'll have more money to spend in hotel rooms. Who knows? Go figure. Well, I'll just tell you that because we're going through that. But my point here is I think it's important to understand the change of the economy. But fundamentally, I think we need to prioritize funding on projects that will create more hotel demand and more hotel construction. Because the more, at least what I understood the presentation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Megan and John, is that when we have significant events that fill up big chunks of the hotel block, then that high demand increases the price of the available other hotel rooms. And then that increased price delivers a higher return on the TOT. Is that my understanding on?
That's correct.
Okay, so again, this is, I think, where we need to work clearly with Visit Sac, our economic development team, to identify, okay, how do we achieve that? And I do feel that the youth tourism or family tourism, because it's not just one individual who's coming out here for aftershock or whatnot. It's usually 3 or 4 that are coming, plus grandma and grandpa who want to check out their grandkids. Is an option, but I don't want to prejudge outcomes. I want to look at what are the most optimal and best use. And I'm glad that we heard about more hotel construction, because I think that's the other issue. I understand we're supporting our convention, as a convention center as well. And as I understand the economics of the convention center is that we need to fill up our convention center so that it increases a demand to build another hotel to be able to grow our convention center. So it kind of, it's like this give and take. So let me I guess my direction, and then a question. My direction would be that we prioritize, staff come back to think of a framework or a policy around prioritizing funding projects that will create the most hotel demand and demand for construction as well. That doesn't mean that it all has to be downtown, and frankly, I know we've got a couple in the works, but I do feel, that there are a number of hotels like the one in Jack's property that I think, finally got constructed under my watch, but got started under Mayor McCarty's watch, that are full, that are building capacity. So the question that I have here is how could we put that together where we're looking at that demand for hotel construction, because that will lead to more TOT, so that we don't go what I fear is a money grab just for one pet project. And I think that would be the worst thing we can do, because once we use the money, it's gone. So maybe Assistant City Manager Jesso.
Sure, and I'll probably ask to be joined by Mike Testa in a little bit of this conversation. So first I wanted to address your point about looking at events, kind of investments that foster overnight visitation. And I think that's an operative word here, because we are speaking about filling hotels. So it's not just visitation in the city, it's visitation that results in overnight stays at the city.
Correct.
In one of our many hotels. To that end, we have been working with Visit SAC at looking at sports kind of tourism as a basis, and looking, and I believe Visit SAC has been doing the lead at looking at kind of such facilities, what it would cost, what it would take, where would they be placed, and also in that context, what would we potentially need to kind of invest in, because the assumption is not necessarily that the city would need to pay for all of it.
Correct.
If and when. So we are looking at the viability of that, and we've been working, and we'll continue to work closely with Visit SAC on it. With respect to the general kind of need for more hotel rooms, what drives that? I'll turn it over to Mike, et cetera. Other than, I think, and Mike will certainly, is we know we are under-hoteled. So, Mike can elaborate on that probably.
We are under-hoteled. That's a new term, but it's an accurate one. First of all, let me say that I think the council members who have talked tonight, you're educated on what TOT is. The Vice Mayor said it very well. For every dollar that goes out, we should be getting $2 or $3 in. Right. Whatever we spend on TOT should automatically replenish TOT. You think about the projects that TOT has funded in Sacramento, from the Safe Credit Union Convention Center to the theater. Those are local amenities that the visitor has funded. So the more projects that we can get the visitor to fund for the people who live here, the more value tourism has. From a hotel standpoint, typically when a hotel is at 70% occupancy, if the market is at 70% occupancy, it tells you that you need more hotels in your market. Currently, downtown is at about 82% full. That tells you we need more hotels. You look at some of the events that we can't compete for. Everybody talks about the NBA All-Star Game. We're nowhere close to getting an NBA All-Star Game. You need 6,000 rooms in your downtown. The NBA wants you to be able to walk out of your hotel and be in the middle of the party. We've got under 3,000 rooms in our downtown. So the NBA All-Star Game is a long ways away. But there are some conventions, there are some events that we would go after if we did have more hotels. So I think the point earlier, we should be making it easier for people to build hotels in Sacramento, because there is a return on that investment. More hotels mean more TOT. I thought Megan in her presentation did a great job of explaining the demand that tourism creates, or that Visit Sacramento creates. When we book a convention 5 years out, we take all those rooms. The rooms left in the market become more valuable, and the TOT is higher because of that. I would also ask this council to think about, when we expanded the Safe Credit Union Convention Center, one of the conversations we had was, don't judge the power of that building based on the balance sheet of that building. If it's losing $200,000 a year or making $200,000 a year, that's not the value of the convention center. You think about the overall economic impact. Just from the events that we've booked, whether that's conventions or sporting events or music festivals, in 2022, the economic impact was $229 million, $270 million in 2023, and $345 million in 2024. That's almost $850 million of economic impact over 3 years. The local business community depends on that tourism revenue. So again, it's not just about the conventions or the TOT that the city's collecting, it's the revenues that it's driving to local businesses. Councilmember Vang, you made the comment about sporting events, and Councilmember Gary, you did too. Indoor sporting events, flat field sporting events. If we look at the numbers we've commissioned, we believe that
sporting events, let's take a flat field as an example, would bring in between 50 and 120,000 new hotel room nights to Sacramento every year, of which the city would collect 12% TOT. That would, those visitors would spend between $28 and $72 million based on a 21-field complex. We would book that complex 33 weekends a year. That's what TOT should be spent on, invested in the community that drives revenue back to the community. And since we're only using it 33 weekends a year, guess who's using it the other weekends? Local youth, local amateur sporting groups. There is a great payoff in investing in things that attract tourists that benefit the people who live here, not only from the revenues that it drives, but from the uses that it provides.
Well, thank you, Mike. And I guess that sparks 2 points. One, on the policy side, the making it easier to build more hotels. And I want to make a caveat that I support that 100%. Obviously, we have 2 major ones that we know of. But I also think it's important that we look at the mid-size range hotels, the Hamptons, those products that are at a lower price point, and they can be built in South Sac. They can be built in other areas of the city to meet those family needs. The Residence Inn, I think about that, like when we look at the Marriott's or the Residence Inn, where there's a little more room, but it's not your downtown price point either. So because we're collecting hotel tax on those rooms as well, and they can be probably placed a little easier around the city, particularly if you had a flat field facility, closer to those proximities, proximate areas. So I guess the last question I would say is, or ask maybe Mike and Mike, is, I guess, given the current climate where things are going, and I always almost say, youth demands are somewhat recession-proof, and that's not true for everyone, but parents will sacrifice a lot to make sure that their kids are happy. But have you looked at, based on where the economy is going, and kind of, if we were going to say, here's where if we want to preserve TOT, and if we want to make sure that every dollar that goes in comes out into $2 more, so that we can grow and use that in the future. Have you guys started to look at that analysis of what the next 5 years our focus should be on?
We certainly looked at that through the Great Recession. We looked at that post-pandemic. To your point, Councilmember, parents typically will spend their dollars as a priority on their children first. So youth sports has been a sound investment. From a convention standpoint, the company that used to send 5 delegates to the convention now will send 2 because of that concern about the economics. So there are things that are a little more insulated. I think music festivals are similar. There's folks who would like to go to 3 and 4 music festivals a year. As economics get a little tighter, they may go to 1, they may go to none. Some of those things are not necessarily something they have to do, and I think people perceive things for their children as things that they have to do. We've also looked at future years in Sacramento, what we have booked, and we have events booked out through 2031. I will tell you this year, October will likely be down. We're seeing bookings down about 20% this year because of the cancellation of Golden Sky. At the same time, we're hosting the X Games this year for the first time in August, so I would expect August will be up. September, we're hosting Terra Madre, a big international food conference. I expect bookings in September will go up. So typically, these things will balance out. We were on a significant growth trajectory, and again, some of those things are out of our control. But if I look at, we have a benchmark that we set ourselves against for future years, what we're supposed to be hitting. For 2026, we're 177% of that, ahead of that benchmark. For 2028, we're 346% of that benchmark, ahead of it. So our future bookings are strong in the next 4 years. Could that change? Of course it could. If the economics for this country change and people are not spending and traveling the way they used to, then these are just what they are, a forecast, right? Those numbers could change.
So what I'm hearing here, and then maybe to add this direction back to my prioritizing funding projects that will create hotel demand and construction, it's essentially those things that are multi-day events that essentially, because we can't look, I'd like to expand like some of the baseball fields in my area, and I'd love to be able to use Measure N to fund it, the TOT to fund it, but they probably may serve only day-long games or whatnot. They're not going to bring in overnight stays. So I guess my direction would be to look at, okay, what are the approaches that are going to bring in that multi-day stay for overnight expenses? Because that's where we make our return. It's not just the lunch that they buy, but it's the overnight stay.
And that is the exact right approach. There is a reason the hotels next door to the convention center do well and are more consistent in occupancy. There's a reason that hotels located by the hospitals have a more consistent occupancy, because they have a regular feeder of business. If you build a sports complex, I would not be surprised in any way if a hotel followed on that property, because it would have a feeder for room nights on that property. So you're absolutely right that if you build things that generate those overnight stays, you'll see that come to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Testa. I was going to actually ask you how many hotels were down, so you somewhat answered it. But I remember we've talked about some other things, and what are some items we are missing in our hotels to book the bigger conferences? Some rooms or spaces?
A lot of what we have are challenges on the number of rooms in hotels. You look at the Hyatt and the Sheraton, the two biggest hotels in Sacramento, they're 500 rooms each. A lot of our hotels are between 100 and 250 rooms. You take the example of the Wine and Grape Symposium, which is Sacramento's largest convention. They sign contracts with 22 different hotels. That same convention could fit in the Hilton Towers in San Francisco without the use of a convention center. It is a competitive disadvantage for Sacramento that we ask a meeting planner to sign so many contracts with so many hotels. So when we go up against other cities, and that's what our business is, we compete against other cities, they look at, well, I can fit my event into 3 hotels in X city, but in 9 hotels in Sacramento. It's a challenge for us. So we don't have big enough anchor hotels. That's why that hotel that's been proposed that would connect to the Safe Credit Union Convention Center is so important.
And how many rooms would that potentially be?
They're looking at around 350 rooms.
And so how many potentially planned hotels do you know of or working on in around downtown?
Eva Hill mentioned hers. That one's been talked about for a few years. Roger Hume, who opened the Hyatt House, is looking at a hotel downtown that would be about 100 rooms. The Convention Center Hotel that I just mentioned, another 350 rooms. Councilmember, I hear about 8 or 9 new hotel projects every year, and I'm always hopeful that one of them will come to fruition. Hotels are tough to build. It's not like an apartment building where everybody needs housing year-round. It's harder to get the financing to do it, and especially in this climate with rates so high, they're very challenging to build.
Thank you. Well, District 1 is providing those hotels.
Yes, you are.
I appreciate that. Question to staff. One of the things we haven't talked about with TOT, kind of taking it back a little bit, what effective practices do we have for tracking TOT owed so that we avoid revenue loss?
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as you heard earlier today, the Finance Department administers the transient occupancy tax. So we have a few ways. So we do regular audits on all the hotels. So every hotel in the city gets audited on a regular cadence. We hire an outside firm to conduct those audits. If there are any findings, the kind of cadence of that audit, they'll be audited sooner. We also track the hotel payments monthly, and we'll follow up. So if we don't see a payment come through, or if we see a major difference in payment amount, we'll follow up with the hotels. For short-term rentals, the platforms actually remit the payments on behalf of the rent or lessee. So if you go to Airbnb and you try to rent a property in Sacramento, you'll see the transient occupancy tax, and we track those monthly as well. And just I do want to go back 1 second to the budget, just because I think there's a little bit of confusion in that there were kind of 2 shifts of costs over to the community center fund. So there were a number of costs like Crocker and some other institutions and some debt service payments that were shifted over in the proposed budget. The proposed budget also had permanent and ongoing cuts to Mosaic and the Art Museum, $87,000 each. Those were restored by council as part of the final budget. I just don't remember whether we have that in there as ongoing or one time, so I'll double check. But that first round of reductions, those were all ongoing, so those would all be ongoing. But I apologize, I didn't mean to hijack the line of questioning.
No, I think that's great. Answering questions that were left hanging are always appropriate. Besides Airbnb and VRBO, we also know those other private entities, private individuals do short-term rentals. How do we keep track of that?
Yeah, so we do, I mean, there are ones where we regularly get remittances, and so we know about them. And people who, are permitted, we know about, and so we can check up on them. For unpermitted folks, we work with code enforcement to try to bring them into compliance.
Thank you. I think that answers most of my accountability, because we have to look at, one, we need to make sure we're being paid, because it also is, this is revenue into the city. Are you funding in the audits? Because I haven't seen one of them. Are hoteliers and bigger companies in compliance?
For the most part, yes. And when they are out of compliance, they also get charged a late fee if they're delinquent, and we work with them to bring them into compliance. So there are no major offenders. The other thing I just want to note for council, you heard from the city auditor, one of her priorities is auditing the TOT, and so we're working with her team right now, giving them the information on all of our processes and procedures. And to the extent that she finds things that we could be doing better, I'm certainly in support of doing those things.
So totally off topic, but just thought about it. For our motel voucher, which we are paying for people to stay, are we getting the TOT that is being collected?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you for that. Thanks, Pete. I want to echo what some of my colleagues said, specifically when we come back, because it does say, when we passed Measure N, that it really is economic development projects. And while I want to look at everything with an equity lens, we also need to look at it with an economic development lens, because it really is about, I could tell you, 2 weeks ago, the North Natomas Aquatic Center had 1,000 people for a regional kind of Western competition that probably resulted in 400 or 500 each night, room nights of people from out of state. This coming week, we are having a national competition at the Aquatic Center. So it was a great investment for the city, because there are several more national competitions coming into the Aquatic Center. So I think it's also really important that we don't get ahead of ourselves, and we also put in, when we're talking about how we use our TOT funds, the infrastructure part, because how do we maintain what we have? Because if something breaks at the Aquatic Center and we have to cancel something, that's millions of dollars lost. So how do we build in, because Measure N was also about the infrastructure and making sure we stay on top of things. Old Sac, I think, is a perfect example of why, where it's the #1 visited, we've got to, one, get the hotel. You're going to get Senator Ashby in the state of California to build the hotel in Old Sac. I mean, I feel like we're late. We've got the A's here, whatnot. I think we're missing out on significant opportunity. So I think one of the things we have to look at of where we invest our money is the short term and the long term. Short term, is there a shovel-ready project that is going to bring in significant economic development versus a long-term project that may be 8 or 10 years? And how do we plan that? Because I can tell you what I constantly hear from my hoteliers, oh, our money is going downtown. And yeah, we have the Aquatic Center, but we don't have a youth sports facility in the city of Sacramento. That is a tragedy. Woodland has one, Roseville's, everybody's building them, but we don't have something. So what can we do? I get the 10-year plan, but what can we do in the short plan that brings economic development? Because youth sports, you will always win. And that's part of what I've discussed with North Natomas and my regional park, because I have space and it can be done now. And how do we do that? Because I also have hotels where people can walk to the regional park, which that's the economic driver we're looking at. And if you look at where revenue by region, well, you know, Natomas is that percentage that's bringing it in, and yet we're not seeing the return on investment. Just saying one time we gave for the aquatic center, I think we're missing on the city of what can be done right now as we are facing budget cuts. How do we grow our revenue and what's needed? I know I'm talking to developers, and I've got 3 or 4 more hotels that are potentially in the works coming in. One is opening this year. One opened a year and a half ago. We just approved one to start construction, which may be done in 2 or 3 years. And I got a couple more coming in. So I have space for economic development that we need to look at. So for staff direction, I think it's a balance. One, we need to keep it open for the flexibility because we don't know what TOT will or will not bring, but we also have to look at what's in return on investment, not an ideal, while at the same time, how do we address certain inequities, but acknowledge some places are more adept to construct something right now to bring in more local economic funding. So I look forward to the continuing conversation in this regard. And thank you, Mr. Testa, for all that you're doing, and Visit Sacramento to bring in a significant amount of funding. It is money well spent for the economic driver of our city.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Guerra?
Yeah, briefly, I just wanted to highlight something that Councilmember Kaplan brought up, that yes, on our motel voucher program, we are collecting TOT. But one thing that I'd like to also give staff direction on this is that on the home key projects, we do not. So choosing, I think, site selection on home key projects is critical. And we had this discussion about a certain motel here in the downtown area that was used for that program, and we should probably be much more thoughtful about, the older motels that aren't doing as well, that aren't performing as well, that use those versus those that are high return. And the reality is the amount that is offered to a motel year is such a high number that sometimes for them it would be an easy decision to sell the motel because of how the hotel home key project funding is allocated. But that's at a loss to us for this particular reason. So I'd like to make sure that we are much more involved and direct and engaged with SHRA on how those sites are selected, so that we're meeting both needs. One, using those old motels that probably would do better for the adjacent community by redoing them and retrofitting using the home key project, but not sacrificing the TOT revenue that can come from those. So that's my next piece there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks, Mayor. It's really apparent to me from this discussion that the need for the short, medium, and long-term framework, as it's been called, or plan, is manifest. So I look forward to seeing that development. I just want to make one other observation, that we're talking about lots of different forms of generating visitors, whether it's for conventions or youth sports or a host of other things. One of the things we haven't touched on is experiential tourism, which is growing very rapidly, and thinking about who the tourists are, as opposed to the convention goers. The tourists are getting older, just like the population's getting older. And a lot of people are looking for what's authentic about a community, what's different, what's unique. That's the experiential side, but it's also what are places that people who are older and may have some different interests and challenges in how they travel. We need to, I think, be also cognizant of those elements. And I don't know, Mike, if there's data at this point about that on the experiential market, but it certainly looks to me, just from casual observation, like that may be the fastest growing category of travel, leisure travel occurring. But whether it is or not, it certainly is an increasingly significant element. So this is always a difficult equation. To a certain extent, you want to have occupancy availability where your attractions are. But at the other end, you want to generate more locations that become attractions that then drive occupancy. So I think that's why trying to figure out where a roadmap of where we want to go becomes so significant and important with respect to limited resources to get where we seek to arrive.
Okay. So this was a informational item to review, comment, and provide direction. You're not smiling?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. No, I am smiling, and
Yeah,
I think
good,
there was
okay.
a lot of directions
Yes,
from the
yes.
dais, so I do feel for staff.
Yes.
To have to rewatch this, but I'm also going to be working with Council Vice Mayor Talamantes just for a council proposal because I think it's important to put something on written paper. So just wanted to flag that for staff as well. So yeah, but yeah, there was a lot of directions from this council, which is great. I mean, it was a great conversation, and then looking forward to staff taking all of that and helping us to develop the framework with all of those asks. So yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to focus on the big picture, why I wanted to agendize this, is for us to just get the 101 on what TOT is, because I think there's a lot of misconception over here, and I think, as Mr. Testa said, the council members know this pretty well, and I think myself and Mr. Dickinson and Pluckybaum get the gist of it, but there's a lot of hopes and dreams for this. There's not enough to go around to do everything, so we need to be smart. And there's market conditions, a lot of things that are unpredictable, and certainly we made some overarching promises, issues in the fall. I support some of that vision that the mayor put forward, our prior mayor, about the waterfront, but we need to focus on being eyes wide open. And you put something here, there's less over here. So I'm not saying I'm for nor against what was put forward in the waterfront, but we need to see the big picture. And, I think that there's some confusion. Oh, why can't we use this to backfill the general fund to pay for the potential cuts for police and fire? Why can't we use this in other areas across the city? And so I think we need to be focused on what this is. This is a fund we collect from visitors to Sacramento to focus on a purpose, to be smart about. This is essentially our reinvestment fund in tourism to get a solid return. So I think that we didn't have a wide lens. I'm not adverse to looking citywide to see where projects we can invest citywide to bring in resources. But this is not our discretionary general fund to focus on projects that have other purposes. We need to be crystal clear that every penny we spend here, we should look, what is our return on our investment? And that should, be priority number one, keep our eyes on the prize. So I think you get the gist. We want to come back with, as I view, some analysis focusing on basically three things. How much there is, as our treasurer noted, how much we could bond against in the future based upon current and stress tests versus staying the same, getting worse, getting better. And then I think we should talk about ideas. There's all kinds of ideas. There are 9 of us would have a bunch of ideas. You could put a wall up there with a bunch of red dots, and we could have lots of different ideas. I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it, but I think we should look as far as what type of projects that we want to zero in on that would make the biggest difference for our city, and not just to be a place that people want to visit, but more importantly, to bring in more revenue and to keep those existing projects going in the future. And then just again, zero in on just which ones would get the biggest return on our investment. And I think we need to be smart too. I hear every council member in this different area. You are all here to represent your districts. and the city as a whole too. But some of these projects, I'm not sure if you invested in a soccer complex in a certain area of the city, are those going to be hotels where people stay that are in the city or outside of the city? And so that's the thing we need to look at too. Which of these projects are going to focus on zeroing in on furthering return on investment for the city. And as far as the budget, I wasn't here then, but I do think it's important to note is we could undo that, but then you got to find the money somewhere else, because those are all city priorities. Those are all city, basically, partnerships or things that the city owns, city assets. And so we could focus on that in the budget, but there's no, as we talked earlier, Mr. Guerra, no free lunch here. So no free lunch. But with that, I just wanted for us to get a big picture perspective on TOT, the past, the present, and the future. And I think we could come back with some options on where we go from here. So thank you. So with that, this was informational, no vote here.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So, Mayor, you now move to council comments, ideas, questions, and AB 123 reports.
Okay, council members.
Councilmember Jennings.
Thank you very much. I've got a wonderful announcement for District 7. The District 7 Easter egg hunt is going to take place on Saturday, April the 5th at 10 a.m. at Garcia-Bend Park in the Pocket neighborhood. Now, if you arrive at 10 o'clock, you can get a picture with the Easter Bunny, and make sure to bring your Easter baskets so that you can get those eggs that are filled with goodies. That'll start at 10:30 sharp. Also, while you're looking for all those eggs, you want to look out for the golden eggs, which offer a special surprise in each one of them. The sun will be out, and there will be plenty of treats and fun to go around for everyone. For more information, you can look at my Facebook page or my Instagram to get more information on this. But once again, this is Saturday, April the 5th at 10 o'clock at Garcia-Bend Park for the Easter egg hunt. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Bain.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to let folks know that I have office hours this month on April 17th at Cafe La Vie off of Center Parkway 8775. Registration will be required and more details will come, but you can just always swing by. My staff says registration is required, but my staff's going to be upset at me when I say this. Swing by anyways if you haven't had a chance to register. I'd love to say hello to you. Sorry, Lex. She's probably like, no, council member registration because there's so many people. Okay, but just swing by and come say hi. And then also wanted just to let folks know that I have a citywide, as you know, there's citywide Earth Day cleanups happening throughout April. And in particular, want to just highlight District 8. We have 2 locations in District 8 actually this Saturday from 9 to 12 p.m. One of the project is led by YPSI at Freeport Park, which will include planting, mulching, trash pickup, and then another one led by our DOU department at a drainage basin near the Delta Shore Shopping Center. And you can actually sign up for any of these events throughout the city at www.cityofsacramento.gov/Earth Day, not just for District 8 events, but all events throughout various districts. And then also wanted to let y'all know that this Saturday as well, from 11 to 2 at the Pinnell Center, YPSI's Access Leisure team has their open house. And so you can learn more about our city's adaptive recreational programs, meet staff, learn about scholarship opportunities, and you can learn more about that at tinyurl.com/ACL Open House 25. Those are my updates.
Thank you, Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks. Just a couple of quick announcements this Friday, starting at 11 a.m. Homemade Sacramento and First Step Communities are going to be celebrating the beautification of 50 cabins that provide emergency bridge housing for transitional age youth at the Grove, which is at 2787 Grove Avenue in North Sacramento. So for those of you who would like to come out and celebrate that accomplishment, you are certainly welcome. And then on Saturday morning, beginning at 9 to noon, you can come out and join the River City Waterway Alliance, working on cleaning up Arcade Creek behind the Sacramento Horsemen's Association building on Longview, thank you. I was going to say Longfellow, and I knew that wasn't going to work, so Longview, yes, like Longview Drive. So that is always a very productive exercise, so come join us. Thanks.
Thank you. Public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 9 speakers for public comment matters not on the agenda. Wilbert Joseph, John Jew, Kyle Williams, Mac Worthy, Michael Andrew Barnbaum. Is Wilbert here? Wilbert? Okay. John Jew. Following John is Kyle Williams.
Yeah, hello. Mayor, City Council, thank you for the great job you're doing in our great city of Sacramento. Much appreciated. I've lived here since 1990, my family, and I've seen the things that Sacramento can do, and I want to continue that. I want to address the biggest problem that we have in the city right now. And I have some ideas, I have some solutions, I have some action plans to take care of that. And that is the health of our people. Okay, it's the health of our people, and that is a passion of mine that I live by example. I'm 75 years old, and I've never felt better. And what it is, it's what we need, the solutions that I have, it's a paradigm shift in our thinking about who we are as people, as how we take care of our elders and where they're going. Because right now, our elders are looked at in such a way that our society has given them a look that says, you're getting old and gray, you're getting worn out. We don't have any respect for you anymore because you don't have any cognitive function going on. And it's a big problem. It's a huge problem. And it's because of and I'm not going to knock our healthcare system, but it's not working for us. Our healthcare system is not working for us. And I'm a specialist in a paradigm shift in the thinking. It's called lifestyle medicine. It involves our diet, it involves our exercise, it involves our stress management, it involves sleep, it involves taking risky substances that are not good for us. All these medications, they're taking us down, as well as social connection. We need to be socially connected, that we can all help each other. So I do have solutions. I have, this is actually, I retired at 56. I'm 75 now, like I said. And what I can do is
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Kyle Williams, then Mac Worthy. Thank you for your comments. Your 2 minutes is complete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? I'd like to start off by just reminding independents and Republicans that we need you in here. Because from my knowledge, we've got all Democrats on the panel, most likely all Democrats behind me. And no city runs by all Republicans or all Democrats. If you were in Ogden, Utah, and you had 95% of you that were Republican, wouldn't you be a little concerned? 95% of this room is Democrats. It's one way of thinking. It's not working. So anyway, I'd like to see actual equality. We used to have this, now we got this. I'd like to see equality come back to our city so that I don't have to leave here. Most of my friends have left here. I wonder why. Nothing is, so. Phil, I'd like to work with you on leaf blowers. Just gave 3 presentations. I still hear them buzzing away. Absolutely makes no sense. I'll leave my card with her. If you can call me, I'd appreciate it. I've called the mayor's office 8 times asking for no 5G within 100 yards of my house. Nobody calls me back. I talked to Phil about it. He says the federal level made a juncture on it for all of us to have 5G. Well, Mill Valley, Petaluma, Monterey, Los Altos has said no way to 5G. Why are you allowing a radiation? I mean, do you stand next to your microwave? Lisa, you stand next to your microwave for any period of time? You have your phone next to you, city attorney there? You hold your phone next to your head all day? So anyway, you guys represent the future of children and all of our health in 5G. Nobody's looking into this, from what I can tell. None of you. You're just allowing it. and it's based off of a weapon. So maybe somebody could take this on and kind of start looking into it. And other than that, I look forward to not having leaf blowers blow all the time when there's not even a leaf on the ground.
Thank you for your comments. Mac Worthy is our next speaker, then Michael Andrew Barnbaum.
I'm a Republican, too.
Got one Republican. Any independents or Republicans?
Mr. Worthy?
Oh, first of all, I want to tell you, TOT will not give jobs here. It won't work, people. It won't replace me. Because you ain't got nobody to come here to nothing. You gave up your dollar. I tried to show it. Equity in your property and build a low-income housing, you would have that supplement income. They wouldn't even listen. We're going to get off grants. You're going to go to hell off grants because I'm going to continue how that the president cut federal grants until we get this in order. We listened to the first meeting in this. It's pitiful, y'all. It's pitiful. Oh, well, it's my staff. What in the hell your staff being other than the outhouse and back in the kitchen? You got to have people with ideas and experience bring the top folks in. Every time I look up, there's a scandal in the paper. Yeah, we got a scandal on the police department. Wow. They got millions. Here we look at $38 million the other week and then $250 million grants. You can't make it. You can't make it, people. Wake up. You blew everything. The underprivileged neighborhoods, you blew it because you couldn't listen. You allow who to be put in your district to represent you. Look at Dip Heights. This man here should have come in early. But no, you owed that boy. You owed him. And one day I'm going to show you, after this government come here, why you owed him. Because of his family. That's how you owed him. He had money in that, and you owed them. That's from the Vietnam War. That's it. But you're going to have to up, just like the man say, Republicans are going to have to come back to town. There's nothing here for people coming. You got something going that the kids.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Michael Barnbaum, then Frank Morgan.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me up for public comment. I want to make a couple of announcements. Many of you, if not all of you, back in December and January, received the More is Possible ceramic mug that I'm showing here. So now I want to just step aside and, while continuing to speak in the microphone, show my shirt, which says, I believe in a spectrum of possibilities, autism awareness. So this is April 1st, and I want to welcome everybody to Autism Awareness Month throughout the world. And here in Sacramento, there will be a festival I would like to announce to you all and hope you can come. It will be the Sacramento Autism Festival at Ridge Point Elementary School. It'll be from noon to 3 p.m. on Saturday, April 19th. The location's at 4680 Monument Drive, Sacramento 95842. The nearest bus stop is on Galbraith Drive and Walerga Road in Sacramento County. Sorry, it is not in city limits. I apologize for that. And the last announcement I want to make, don't forget, on April 11th, premiering in theaters nationwide, the movie Sacramento. Check your local theater and show times for exact times to publicize to folks. But again, that premiere of the movie Sacramento is in theaters beginning Friday, April 11th. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Frank Morgan, then Rev. I have 4 more speakers this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I still haven't had my problem resolved.
You know, I've been coming and coming and coming. I see the mayor is gone. I've talked to the feet, I talked to the tail, I talked to the body, I talked to the neck. Maybe I need to talk to the head. You know, if I could just get a few minutes with him to help me resolve my problems, because they haven't been resolved. I know Kathy Maple is my representative, and her guy ran up to me the last time I was here. He said, "I'm gonna call you in the morning." Never heard from him. I'm still waiting on police reports. So it's just like, I can't get a police report, and I'm the victim, and I can't understand that. And it's just like it's crazy. You know, I'm just asking for, you know, just some accountability of if something was done to me, or if I did something to somebody. Please, let's rectify it and let's make it happen. You know, it's just life is so short, and I'm just, you know, we got so much going on in our city. We have a beautiful city, and we really need to bring it back up, you know, and start helping each other and start doing things for the people and the public. You know, I see there's a lot of other people not here today, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm sorry I missed a couple of meetings. Had to take care of my mother, but God is good. And like I say, I'm still waiting. You know, if I could meet with somebody, or somebody could help me, you know, or give me a card, or I can call somebody. You know, I got a lot of stuff on my back, and I just wish I could just get it off. You know, and you guys, you're the council. You guys sit high, but you look low. So, you know, we need you. We're the low ones that you look at. We need you. And like I say, it's very important that we come together and make this city a great city, because it is a great city. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your comments. Rev, Shira Lane, then Jared Hill.
Blessings to you all that know how to receive it. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a child of God. I don't vote for ne'er man. If I don't know you, like a fly on the wall, I'm not voting. I vote for my homeless people because I live amongst them and I know them. Y'all act like they just a piece of dirt in the road. I had to stop 3 of them the other day. Like, put down that broom. What you doing? I'm cleaning up the area I'm at. Forget that. They gonna throw away your stuff anyway. Let them clean it up. Because I know what they'll do if I put a massive of them out there to clean up their area, your area, paint all the walls, do your planting of your little trees that you talking about, young lady. My homeless people can do it. Y'all act like they retarded, deaf, and dumb, like they came out of the womb and they was dirty on the street and then they grew up and now they out there. No, they was working Americans, as y'all have out in here in America. Make America great, as Trump is always talking about. Those people are part of America. I'm still a part of it, and I'm a working person. I have 4 nonprofits and 5 LLCs. I'm about to get into everything I can do with that, just so I can make sure I help my homeless my damn self, because y'all don't care. Y'all know y'all stole $24 billion. Y'all probably helped fund the police, probably got a little bonus raise, probably got a new hair piece on your head, whatever you got, you know, new hairdo. You 2 officers probably got new guns. You feel me? Don't look away. I'm just saying, everybody gets something. What you smile at? What, you get some new lipstick? Yeah, pretty too. Yeah, but don't take my homeless people money to do it. God said if you steal and you get caught, you're going to jail. So I'm pushing through. I already tried to call a district attorney to help fight against whoever got that money. I've called the police department to go lock up whoever got that money. But I guess I got to go to the federal government and find out whoever got that money. Give it up. Stop stealing. Really. Because it ain't right. I can let them go in your house and steal what you got. I can tell my homeless people to turn a whole new collar. Go stop traffic or something. You see what I mean? Y'all don't think about what they do. It's a massive amount of them out there, and it's don't care. God bless you all. Hope you survive life.
Thank you for your comments. Shira Lane, then Jared Hill.
Hi, Shira Lane with Atrium 916, Creative Innovation Center for Sustainability. I just wanted to say thank you for mentioning experience. That is really important, and short-term and long-term goals with DOT. Sorry, I'm coming off a cold. One idea, I think, when we're talking about TOT, we talked a lot about events, and these are spiked events. So that means like we have a lot of people coming in and a lot of people going. But one thing to consider is like consistent events. Like anytime you come to Sacramento, you're going to have a good time. Just like anytime you go to New Orleans, you have a good time. Anytime you go to Austin, you know you're going to have a good time. We need to have that vibe here, that anytime you come to Sacramento, you're going to have a good time. Because these events, and they're doing an amazing job, you know, Visit Sacramento does an amazing job, but these events do cost the local residents, right? Because like there's police, and so suddenly there's not enough police for the residents sometimes when we have these events. And also to consider that when we do have these events, they are good for food and beverage retail, not so much for regular retail. But what's good for regular retail is when we have that consistent tourism. One idea is to have in Old Sacramento, when people visit Old Sacramento, they get served in styrofoam. And sometimes that's all they see. So they come to Sacramento and they think, oh my God, like they still serve food in styrofoam. So we could be doing projects like creating sustainable, reusable dishware in Old Sacramento that is themed to Old Sacramento. This would elevate to ecotourism. People travel further and spend more for ecotourism. And also revitalizing K Street. I think doing a project that kind of revitalizes K Street, this would increase dollars, creating a vibe that you want to come and visit and hang out. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jarrett Hill is our final speaker this evening.
Good afternoon or good evening, Council. I'm Jarrett Hill, one of 10 core participants awarded dispensary license in Sacramento. Came out tonight to say thank you, heartfelt thank you from myself, my team, and I for the extension granted because we were one of the 3 out of the 10 who did not meet today's April 1st, 2025 deadline to be open. We needed, well, not one more year. We'll be open in 90 to 120 days from now at our new location. So we welcome you guys out to come by and see that location in District 2. Roger, you and I have talked about that location a little bit, but hope to see you all there at our soft opening, grand opening, whether you're a cannabis head or not. While I'm here talking, though, cannabis is not all we do. We're from District 2. We're from Sacramento. We love Sacramento, born and raised. Happy to have the A's here. Happy to be youth sports coaches. It's baseball season. We are on fire. And this TOT reminded me of something, a movie called with Kevin, not Kevin Spacey, but Kevin someone, The Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. The Meadowview 120 project, District 2 is owed something at the Robinson Center. When Kevin McCarty sat as a councilman, was the first time I met him when my mother was alive, Miss Dorothy Hill. They closed down the Robinson Center. We came to ask for it to put a Little League facility there, to build a regional park there in District 2. District 2 is owed. District 8 is owed. District 7 is owed. The same things that District 1 has. Beautiful plan in District 1, but spread it out. Equality all. Equality delayed is equality
Your
denied.
comments. I have another speaker, so Will Joseph. Mr. Joseph?
Just one more. Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for receiving me. I'm here not because of grievance. I don't think the grievance is that significant, but the principle behind it means a lot to me. I live in District 1. I sent a letter to email to Ms. Kaplan a couple of days ago. I'm sure she probably hasn't received it, but I hope that she does pursue it afterwards. I was under the impression when owner issue a lease rental agreement to a tenant, the tenant becomes responsible for what happens on the property, but maybe not what happens to the property. Code enforcement goes out and issue ordinances for discrepancies of issues that happen on the property, and they issue those fines to the owner. I do not think that is fair. I do not think it's legal, and it's probably not. If a tenant does something to destroy or shoot someone off the property, the owner is not responsible. If a tenant kid damaged some windows on the property, the owner is not responsible. So I don't know why the city of Sacramento has pushed it to the point to where the owner becomes responsible for things that adult citizens do on their property. It just doesn't seem fair. So what I would like to do, again, I hope Ms. Kaplan pursue this and get a resolution at least have code enforcement have some type of empathy to work with tenants and owners when situations like this happen. That's all I have. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Vice Mayor, I have no more speakers.
Wonderful. We adjourn this meeting at 7:39.